so funny. It looks like I'm not even wearing pants in the picture too.
Exactly. It's just like it's the level, it's the multiple pillows that makes it so much funny.
Because I was like, I don't want a double chin. I have to make sure the laptop is
It's at a
eye
good
level.
angle.
This was not the right setup to choose. I still don't have the I am now the mic. The mic is in the stand. The stand is not on anything, so just holding the mic in the fucking stand.
Yeah,
Hold
that's
on.
what I was like, I don't think this is gonna be able to last for how long we talk, because I like to talk, baby.
Okay, this is
You
better.
know I
It's
like
on
to
a pillow
talk.
now. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Good?
Yeah. Very good. Period.
Okay, anyways. Wanna hear some chisme? You wanna hear some chisme?
You wanna hear some chisme? You wanna
You
hear
wanna
some
hear some
chisme?
chisme? You wanna hear some
You
chisme?
wanna hear some chisme? Got it?
Oh,
Welcome to the Chismosa chat.
welcome to the Chismosa Chat. This is where we talk about all the shit that's going on with our lives and the world. Today we're talking about those damn Democrats, girl.
Mm-mm. Don't say that word around me.
Democrats. This is super relevant for me for sure because I just had an experience very recently. I was around very extreme Republicans and it was a culture shock for everyone involved. It was a culture shock for me. It was a culture shock for them. And yeah, it was honestly pretty wild, but I'm glad we're talking about this because we'll kind of go into why we shouldn't view each other so differently. But girl, it's fucking hard because sometimes you're around people and they just say something and
It just takes you off guard.
it takes you off guard. And what are you even supposed to say? So I had a lot of practice nervous laughing. The giggle,
Just like,
that's what I do. Oh,
exactly. I'm just like, oh, okay.
oh. It's like that shaky. Oh,
Yeah.
high
Oh, yeah.
pitched.
Hmm.
So yeah, I mean, we're talking
Yeah.
about
I've been
Democrats.
there.
You and I both vote Democrat, but this is more exposing what is wrong with the Democrats. So, yeah, the
Period.
Republicans, obviously, for us, very hard to be around, but there's more to the other side too, for sure. So, what's new with you,
Yeah.
girl?
Yeah, so it's so funny because one of our good friends just had a recent experience. Shout out to our big dog, big gal, I should say, who went viral the weekend of my birthday. So she went viral for not great reasons. And so it was literally a shit show.
Go.
And so it's so funny because as Claire said, she's one of our friends who's like very controversial in nature and in spirit. So just being around her during my birthday weekend, I was like, girl, we can't say that. Okay. That is a hard no. Like we cannot, no, 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 no. Not in
Gentle
2025. We can't say,
parenting.
yes, we have to, we can't do that. Okay. No, no, no. Like we definitely have some good laughs, but like, we're it's a work in progress. So yes, being around people that you don't share similar beliefs with is a challenge for sure, 100%. So been there several times, done that several times as well.
Literally. Yeah, it's like there's just a balance that needs to happen that we don't have in this country because I
Yes.
do get with the people that we're talking about, a lot of it is like that sentiment of I can say what I want, this shouldn't offend you type thing.
Hmm.
And I get some of that to an extent. I do think people get offended left and right these days. But then at the same time, Words obviously have a lot of power.
Yeah, you got to be courteous. You just got to be considerate, especially when you're around people. It's just like I
Mhm.
think one of the things about Americans, I always say to people when I'm traveling or people are coming here, like from different countries, I'm like, Americans are very, very polite. Like that's one thing that we
Mhm.
have is that we're very polite. So it's just within our nature to be considerate of other people that we're around to, not say things that we feel like might hurt their feelings or it might make them feel like shit. So
Yeah.
it's not even about it's just about being courteous. So I just feel
Mhm.
like yes, people are take offense to everything nowadays, but at the same time, there needs to be a balance of like if I say something and it might offend you, like I'm sorry, it's not everything's not meant to be offensive, but at the same time, we also have to consider other people and how they might feel about the things that we say and how, it's just like yeah, the words
Mhm.
do mean a lot.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, my mom was talking on the phone the other day and she was saying like the 30s are the new 20s and because now all the 30-year-olds are so, they're not mature, they're
Was
not,
she saying it as a
buying
positive or a negative?
negative as a negative. Like she was just like, like us at our 30s, we were, we had all of these responsibilities and, like kids and like mortgages and like all these things. And it's
Mhm.
like one of the number one reasons why millennials are not having kids and not doing all of these responsibility having things is because we cannot afford to buy homes in this economy. Like it is not a normal thing for a 30-year-old to have a house that they've paid for. Like it's not
Yep.
normal in our society anymore. So things have gotten so expensive that even to a two-person household with two different salaries can't even qualify for a house right now within our market. The amount that you have to make in order to afford a house that's maybe like okay, a $400,000 house, like the amount that you have to make in this economy in order to be able to afford a $5,000 payment a month for a $400,000 house is just something that people are not willing to put their money on the line for. They'd rather rent.
Yeah.
So it's so funny because there's so many stats coming out saying specifically the housing crisis is the reason why millennials and Gen Zers are not settling down
Mhm.
and really figuring out what the hell did you guys give to us because it's not
Yeah.
making sense. The
There's
math ain't
so much
mathing.
less opportunity, basically. There's less opportunity, and it also, I think, is making a lot of people our age really think, what is the point of it all? What is
Hmm.
the point of just following a path that our parents
Hmm.
followed and everyone before them? Because we don't have the same opportunities. We don't have the same choices. So, I mean, like you and I are a really good example. We're both literally unemployed. And we're both like, this is better. I mean, we're in a really privileged position, but
Yes.
it's like thank God we were able to make that choice and have this opportunity. But it's also because working for kind of nothing. I don't want to sound so negative, but yeah, like you said, we can't afford a house. It's
Hmm.
just different. We're technically not really getting paid enough for any of the work we're doing,
To
and
even
we're,
to live.
yes,
You're
to
not even getting
live.
paid to cover the cost of living mostly. Like,
Mhm.
you know, it's like you're getting paid to just cover rent and expenses. It's just like I have all of these expenses,
Mhm.
all of these bills to live somewhere where I don't want to live and have all of these things that I don't want to deal with these people that are just
Treating you like shit.
exactly discriminating against me openly and there's no repercussions whatsoever.
Mhm.
So why would I want to continuously put myself in an environment where I'm going to be discriminated against because I am going to be one of the only black people within the program and within my company, and then walk into the black rooms and they're saying okay, we had to toughen ourselves up so that we can deal with all of
Yeah.
the prejudice and racism that we're going to face because it's just what it is. Like why? So that I can afford to pay rent and afford to continue to help my employer make millions of dollars off of
Mhm.
my
Off of
work
your
that
work.
no, it's just like I maybe I should use my mind to propel something of my own forward at this
Mm-hmm.
point, because the benefit is not outweighing the cost at this point.
Exactly. Yeah, and I hate that a lot of older people view our generation as lazy when it's like, yeah, we don't want to work, but it's not because of laziness. It's because we realize that it's not a good use of our time and
Yeah.
it doesn't
The
make
cons
sense
outweigh the
that it's a
pros in a
priority.
lot of,
Yeah.
yeah, because it's like, just like you said, there's the things that we were told, okay, this is what you do in order to get what you want out of this. It's taking longer and longer and longer for you to get a piece. And as we're trying to take our time and invest and do all of the things that are supposed to, that the capitalist system tells us to do in order to achieve what we're doing, we're realizing we're working harder, we're working more, we're burnt out. And for what? For not to be able to have your own home, to live in a society where all of our economic things are breaking out and inflation is going up, like wages are nowhere near catching up. So it's like you're playing a game that you're losing. Honestly, for me, I feel like this is like a second COVID moment of really
Mm-hmm.
prioritizing myself
Yeah, same.
over what the capitalist system tells me I should be prioritizing,
Mm,
and realizing, one, that a job does not define me.
yeah,
Work, like it is what I do during the day, but it shouldn't define me as a human being. And like, you know, so
exactly.
yeah, that's just me.
So we'll send that clip to your
Yeah, okay.
mom.
Sounds great.
But yeah, that is definitely relevant to what we're talking about because we've been dealt a bad hand that I think a lot of young Democrats don't even realize this, even like young liberal people, but the hand that we've been dealt is because of both Democrats and Republicans. And I think it's important to realize our party system is not what we have been taught it is, and that it's not just left versus right, because in reality it's very different from that. But a lot of people do realize that because there's this really big dissatisfaction with the Democratic Party. I think obviously that's a big reason why MAGA was able to get so big. So a lot of people know this, but it's interesting to talk about what the fuck happened over time. So, to kick us off on this conversation, I wanted to lay like a lot of context for what we're talking about, make sure that anyone who might be listening to this is on the same page as us. So, I think it's important to understand that in the US, we're basically dealing with a far right populist party and a centrist, slightly right neoliberal party. And that's in the context of the rest of the world. I think this context is important because as a country, we, talk about Democrat versus Republican, progressivism, liberalism, and it feels like we almost don't even really know what progressivism means because our definition of it is so distorted thanks to the fact that our parties are so right leaning. So that's a clear opportunity for the Democratic Party to actually follow more progressive ideals and shift a little bit more towards that side. But they have not been doing that, as we have seen over this past several years. So the next thing I want to define and just set some context on is all these isms that we hear all the time, like in the news and other podcasts. But I feel like no one ever really sets the stage for the average person to understand what all of this even means. I have seen all these words so long, and even I was like, based on context, I know, but they're never really defined for you. So I want to talk about populism, neoliberalism, and socialism in real simple terms. So, populism is basically a way of talking about politics where you prioritize the general population versus a more powerful group. Like, that's it in the simplest terms. It can be used on the left or the right side of political parties. It doesn't necessarily have to be good or bad, But right now in the US, it is being heavily used by the Republicans and the alt right because they essentially spin up a lot of lies that speak to a really broad group of people and pit them against the liberal elites, which is like the other that's part of populism. So we'll get more into that later, but that's just really good to have in your mind. And then neoliberalism. So this is our modern economic ideology that prioritizes free markets above all. When I first started learning about neoliberalism, I was like, is this laissez faire? Because that's like one of the only things I remember from school, laissez faire and mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Ha! I'm dead.
Those two
That's
stuck with
hilarious.
me. But for reference, laissez faire is no government intervention at all, whereas neoliberalism knows that the government needs to be involved in order to do everything it can to prioritize free markets. And with neoliberalism, above all, the priority is profit. That's important to keep in mind. But I know that you like to talk a lot about neoliberalism, Carla. So what's your take? Let's hear it.
um yeah, so when like when you refer to neoliberalism, it's also super important to remember the not just the economic part but the human rights part of it as well. So with neoliberalism, there's a school of thought where, okay, the Western world is empathetic, we have empathy, we want to make sure that everybody has human rights and democracy. That's another tenet of neoliberalism. So you have all these neoliberal institutions that were created, like the IMF, WTO, that reinforce capitalism and democracy and human rights as a tool to exploit resources in the third world. This becomes like a big push for globalism and international cooperation with all of these nonprofits, these NGOs, and these international organizations like the UN, and NATO. So just
Mm-hmm.
kind of putting that perspective of the international organizations and the human rights and democracy piece of it
Yeah,
is
that's
big.
really interesting to think about too, because often neoliberalism is kind of hidden behind what I would say, in real simple terms, feels like charity or aid.
A
Like,
mission, yeah.
yes, a mission. Like when I was in undergrad, I took a couple of international development classes, and that was a lot of it, like talking about all these non governmental organizations that were helping third world countries and things like that. And even in that class, they weren't being fully honest about the point of those organizations, which at the end of the day was to ensure that the countries they were helping were just maintaining part of the global capitalist system
Mm-hmm.
and not giving those countries the opportunity to decide if they even wanted to be a part of it or base their economic system on it.
So we have this NGO and this NGO that's going to get funding from the government to come and help you do this and change your all of this, and this is going to take 10 years, and this is going to take
Mm,
this amount of money, and you're going to have this government contract. Yes.
yeah.
Good times.
I remember when I was younger too, I was always like, I want to work for an NGO. But I was also a Christian, so. Okay, that'll be, we should do a deep dive on that too, because there's a lot there, obviously.
Quite a bit.
But yeah, getting back into my little definitions, now we're going to talk about socialism. Ah!
The boogeyman.
Scary! So, obviously, that's why this is important to define because, especially when it comes to the two party system in the US, they both love to say, we need to do anything that is going to prevent socialism. Socialism is bad. Socialism is evil. Socialism is literally just the government and the people of a nation owning and controlling parts of the economy. The priority is more on people, and it's a progressive policy because it requires a lot of social change from what pretty much any country has right now. In the US, we're told that it's so scary, but we have had socialist policies in our country for decades that pretty much everyone can agree are good things to have. Some examples of that are when Democrats have been at their best was when they pushed these policies like Medicare and Medicaid, Social Security, girl, it's in the name, public education, and public infrastructure. All things that I feel like everyone can agree those are great. Okay, well, then you're not as scared of socialism as you thought. So, yeah, this gut reaction that a lot of people have to socialism is due to decades of global propaganda against socialism, basically in order to maintain capitalism, which we're dealing with a lot of cons of capitalism right now. But yeah, for me, in thinking of the Democratic Party, I feel like they have such a great opportunity and they don't even seem to care to want to educate and change the narrative when getting more people to really understand what socialism means and socialist policies is actually a really great way to unite a lot of people because it speaks to alleviating a lot of the problems that we have across the political spectrum and across even classes. So we're probably going to mention it in every single episode, but yeah, that is really important context, I feel, to talk about the Democratic Party. So to zoom back in on what Democrats are doing right now and what they have been doing for several decades, they basically would rather sacrifice everything in the name of neoliberalism than shift to putting the working class first and championing any type of socialist figures or policies, which, like I said, could be very uniting across political parties. So more recent examples like Zohran Mamdani winning the Democratic Party nomination for the mayoral race in New York is a really good example of this, and Bernie Sanders as well, because they both used socialist policy and populism to speak directly to the working class, and it generated a ton of support. That's undeniable. But even now, looking at Zohran Mamdani and his like really successful campaign, the Democratic establishment in New York and across the nation will not support him, even though he is running as a Democrat and he has support behind him. They don't want to support him. They never wanted to support Bernie back in the day because working class solidarity goes against neoliberalism and capitalism as a whole. People can't have power because corporations and the people with investments in them need to have the power. And the corporations and the people with investments in them are the people running our political parties. Like what you were talking about, too. Same with the NGOs. They're robbing us, they're going on vacation.
Exactly.
So, yeah, Democrats have been supporting conservative economic policy for years, which makes them extra untrustworthy also when they're not speaking to white conservative people on the social side of things. I want to pull in a quote from a Substack I found that I really liked. It was called How the Democratic Party Can Win Back the Working Class. And they said, too many Democratic leaders embraced Republican-style economics, deregulation, privatization, and trickle-down promises that never reached us meaning normal working-class people. These policies hollowed out the communities we were raised in and helped open the door for Donald Trump. So I also wanted to pull in some examples of how Democrats have really prioritized neoliberalism over the general population of people. So Jimmy Carter, I know, RIP, I guess. Sorry, you just died and I'm bringing your name into this, but he literally deregulated. Yeah. Rest in something, girl.
Oh.
He deregulated air travel, trucking, and railroads in the 70s, which by deregulating those industries that affected pricing, it jacked up pricing for those things. It made worker conditions worse. And it affected those things so much that it limited access to smaller towns. This Democratic decision in the 70s I think, I don't have proof of this, but I'm sure I could find a stat or something. I feel like it directly affected the rise of MAGA and a lot of the thought process of people in rural communities because they lack access. And just by lacking access to people traveling to your communities and having different products coming in from around the nation, it really made such a bubble for these people that you can really see, especially when you talk to them. So that's what Carter did. Then we have Clinton in the 90s. He not only cheated on his wife, that's the biggest thing people know, but did you know he also dramatically cut welfare benefits? He repealed Glass-Steagall, which there were a lot of variables involved in this, but that was one that basically helped bring on the Great Recession because it gave investment banks way more power than they need. And then our good old Obama, he obviously during the Great Recession, he approved, or I don't know, how would you say that? He gave banks bailouts. I think my brain is short circuiting today. He gave banks, you're muted by the way if you're trying to talk.
Oh, he bailed out the banks.
He bailed out, girl, you're just sitting there going, he bailed out the banks. He bailed out the
Yes,
banks.
he bailed out the banks.
He
I'm
bailed
like,
out the
damn,
banks.
girls, he bailed out the banks.
He bailed out the bank. These were the same banks that contributed to the Great Recession. So that is a great example of prioritizing profit over people because, as we all know, people did not get bailed out during that financial crisis. And then, of course, the ever so divisive Affordable Care Act, which, you know, it did positively expand healthcare coverage, but it furthered privatized medicine. It's like, can we be a little more creative? Why weren't we coming up with socialized universal healthcare at that point when every other wealthy nation already had that? We really didn't need to continue privatizing it at that moment. So those are just some examples. I think you're going to talk more about this too, Carla, but Democrats, in my opinion, have really been using identity politics as a band-aid to cover up for the shortfalls that they can't offer to the regular people of the US because they're prioritizing neoliberalism and capitalism. They think that highlighting identity politics is all they need to secure voters, but that's not true because the right is already really successfully identifying or aligning with their own identity politics, which are white, straight, Christian, and now working class. And while more people who identify as left or progressive know that identity politics are just a piece of the puzzle, they feel like the party isn't really focused on the policy needed to enact real structural change. So the Democrats have already lost the Republicans to their identity politics. And then people on the more progressive side are being like, okay, we can talk social change all we want, but if you're not really putting in the economic and systematic change that needs to happen, it really is empty promises. So I found another Substack. Okay, I love Substack because, bitch, it's free. I wish that
Substack
could.
girly.
I wish that I could subscribe to really good journalism. I know it's out there, but right now I cannot afford that. So that's why I'm always mentioning Substack. This is not sponsored.
Lower that paywall, baby, because we trying to read the news or
Yes.
whatever exists of it at this
Yeah.
point.
Whatever is left. So yeah, this Substack is called The End of the Line, Cuomo, Mamdani, and the Last Warning for the Democratic Party. They said Democratic voters in 2025 are not just frustrated by Republican extremism, they're exhausted by the sense that the party meant to oppose it still isn't quite sure what it stands for. They've watched housing costs explode while party leaders campaign on affordability and then hedge. They've listened to stirring speeches about climate change, followed by permits for drilling. They've seen rights won over generations get stripped in a single Supreme Court term. Bitch, that's so dark because of what's happening right now with gay marriage.
Yep.
And the last quote is, and they've heard little more than statements of concern. So yeah, it's like Democrats have had all these promises. They've thought that they could have I love that. Oh my god. Period.
They
Just the
thought.
cloud coming out. They thought.
I need this for this conversation.
I know. It's a lot. You literally. I love the fact that Carla literally just woke up and we're talking about fucking capitalism, neoliberalism, social
My favorite topics.
policy.
Could talk about this all day. My morning. Yeah.
So, finishing off, Democrats are kind of moving like dinosaurs to grow or change because the Republicans have pivoted. They've been pretty fucking quick to do what they need to do to get the votes. They know what will help them win, and they've gone after it fucking hard. Even if it is built on lies, they said,
Yeah.
we don't fucking care. We've all already been lying. We're
Exactly.
just going to go harder in the lies. The fuck?
And I can't even fault them for that because they're
No,
just like, it's
literally.
working. We're going to do whatever works. Democrats
Literally.
can't even show up to the party, okay?
Literally. They basically have been stuck doing the same thing decade after decade, practically the past 30, 40 years. And it's like, the signs are there for you. They're not even signs anymore. They're clear ass statements
Blaring
for what
signs. They're blaring.
glaring neon
Flashing.
in front of their fucking
Hello.
eyeballs, sizzling their eyeballs. And they still cannot realize what they need to do. They need to fucking shift towards more socialist policy. And yeah, this is where populism comes into play again because the Republicans have fully picked up that playbook. They're using it for evil, but the result is a winning strategy. And I have this quote that I picked out from fucking JD Vance, but fuck him. But he literally said, we have the lamest opposition in American history. He's not wrong. They
That was
literally
the
know.
strongest quote that he's ever made.
That's the,
I'm not
yeah.
gonna...
That's the only time that I will ever quote
Yeah,
JD
he
Vance.
ate with that one.
So he did
Yeah.
eat with that one.
And his eyeliner.
He said that in his cunty little eyeliner.
Period. What's the bar? We need to find out. What's the deets?
What brand is that, BB?
Literally, like, it's long lasting.
You got a promo code?
Literally,
Amazon affiliate link.
Literally, exactly at this point. Keep it up.
Give it to us. Give it to the girls. So I do want to highlight our last Democratic president, Biden. I almost said R.I.P. too. That man's still alive.
Mic drop. Oh my god.
I'm sorry to that man. He is still kicking.
He is.
I genuinely literally thought that in my head for a second, and then I was like, nope. But I'm about to give him a compliment, so I'm excused. He did actually have some progressive policy, okay? And I will say it definitely got drowned out in the media because there's no unified messaging coming from the Democrats, and they weren't organized in saying, no, look at these policies that are benefiting more people. We should focus on this. We should focus on this. He had a lot of pro-union policies. Unions are one of the biggest keys to organizing the working class and helping them become unified and getting more power within the economy. He did have those policies. He had... Oh, damn. I thought I had more examples. Pro-union policy. That's all I wrote down. I'm sure he had others.
Whatever it was good. It was good, okay?
Mark my words.
I'm the source. That's the only source you need to know, and that's the only source that matters. Okay, the marketing was so bad.
There you go. The marketing was so bad. I even am like, go Biden, and but I don't really know. I just know. So many people are talking about this right now too. Like, why aren't you guys listening? The Democrats need to become an actual progressive party because pushing neoliberal policies and then just saying that you support minorities and disadvantaged people, which your very policies affect, is not reaching anyone. And the smart people know that you're just fucking lying. So we need a whole new party. Because the Democrats, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, it's not about them changing and becoming more progressive. Like, that's not going to happen. They want their fucking money. So
Yeah.
we just need a whole new
Like,
party. Like, we need a party that's for the working class, that's actually for the working class, that's not just lying to them, which is what Trump is doing. And yeah,
yeah.
it's a shame that the party that is managing to speak directly from them is managing to fuck over everyday Americans. They just figured out how
Tax
to
us
have
to
the
death.
best marketing. Yeah. Tax us to death.
Imagine your marketing is so good that you tell people that you're gonna tax them and they cheer. Like you say, I'm gonna give you an extra tax, and they say, "Thank you. We're making money for our country."
America. Yeah.
And they say, "I would rather pay more now than later." But it's like we're gonna pay more now and later.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations. We just fucked ourselves
Yep.
for no reason.
Yep.
Dang. Um yeah.
Exactly.
I think honestly my qualm with the Democratic Party, I feel like Claire, you were like really nice and respectful. I'm definitely with
Yeah.
you. I'm with you on the new party. There needs to be a new party
Yeah.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And the whole notion of like, oh my god, you voted third party, like it just needs to end because at this point we can no longer say with good conscience, I voted for the lesser of the two evils. Like I shouldn't have to say I would rather vote for a turtle than Donald Trump. Like anybody who's not Donald Trump will have my vote. I don't like that shouldn't be a thing that I have to
Exactly.
say. There should be a candidate that I'm like, these are some of the policies that I really, really agree with this candidate, and I'm going to support this
Mm-hmm.
candidate. I mean, there needs to be more options, and I think as Americans, one thing that we're taught is to not talk about politics and to not talk about anything and just kind of like
Mm-hmm.
maintain the status quo, and it's not working. And so,
Yeah. One thing I will say too that we're taught, to your point, we're taught that we're like the best democracy in the world, when meanwhile, bitch, what kind of democracy is that when we have two parties and they're basically offering the same exact thing just with different marketing? So that's another thing that we're taught. Democracy my ass.
yes, how do we say that we implement notions of democracy when both of the parties serve the same class?
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the reasons why the Democratic Party is falling apart. The Democratic Party has usually aligned itself with the working class, and that's no longer the case. It has increasingly aligned itself with highly educated elite. So all the traditional working class base that used to be a part of the Democratic Party are. That's why Trump is so easily able to get it. Just like you said, Claire, like Trump is so easily able to use populism and say, "Hey, look at the Democratic Party. Look at all these rich white elites who are educated and who cannot relate to you." So all of these metropolitan areas, favored the Democratic Party, and the rural counties were pretty much pro Trump. So it's also just kind of showing you who lives in the metropolitan areas, who lives in the bigger cities, the educated people, the people who are making more money, the software engineers, the people who, are making tons and tons of money in corporate America. So it's also showing you how this is becoming a class issue. This is a class-based politics. So the Republicans realized we used to be the party of the wealthy, and now there's a whole gap with the working class that is not being filled by the Democrats because they're just saying we're bulldozing past the fact that you're uneducated. We don't care that you're uneducated. We're making educated decisions, and this is what this means, right? So this is another thing, like we were mentioning in the last episode, in terms of the lack of information that the right wing uses. And so it's like, because
Mm-hmm.
we're so educated, because we're taught this is how you get accurate information. The right wing doesn't have that. We have innovation, we have information based economy. So we're very much, we're in the metropolitan areas, we're very much a part of, you know our economy. Whereas in rural areas, it's not the case, you know?
Mhm.
So it's when you really look at the
Thanks,
statistics,
Carter.
it's yes. So statistically, 38% of Americans hold over 25 years old hold a bachelor's degree. Yet college educated voters are literally the entire backbone of the democratic support. So that's less than four. Like most of our country does not have a bachelor's degree. Most of our
Mhm.
country is not educated. So that means most of our country does not align with the Democrats currently. Non-college voters make up 57% of the electorate, 60% in swing states. One of the quotes that I took from this article from Brownstein is that too many Democrats were far removed from the daily experiences and cultural outlooks of non-college voters. What happens when you say, okay, we're focusing on education, we're focusing on all of these things that 60% of the country doesn't have? That means you're alienating 60% of the
Yep.
base. So working class voters now feel like this party is just culturally elitist and it doesn't align with my economic realities. It doesn't align with what I have to go through on a day to day. I don't have a college degree, so I'm not going to make this type of money and I'm not going to have college loans. So I don't relate to you saying that you want to remove student loans. So it's really interesting because we always look at things from a racial standpoint in our country,
Mhm.
but when you look at this issue, this class-based issue, you see that this is a class-based issue across racial lines. Like Latino and Black men
Yep.
felt like they supported Trump not because of their race, but because of their economic status and how they felt like he is going to be the better opportunity economically because he understands my groceries are expensive, my
Mhm.
eggs cost more money. Whereas Democrats are speaking to people who understand policy. So another thing that kind of just really fueled the demise of the Democratic Party is that we have a lot of wealthy Democrats who support the party and these progressive values as long as they don't affect them. And so, just like you were saying, right, this is something that we've seen constantly. The party, the Democratic Party, will always support these established figures from the establishment that they know. Hillary Clinton over Bernie Sanders, Andrew Cuomo over Zoran Mamdani.
Mm.
But just even stepping aside from that, for example, NIMBYism. Like, okay, what's NIMBYism? Basically, people saying, I would love for homeless people to get off the streets. And
Mhm.
I'm going to put my money, I'm going to support that financially because I am a Democrat and I believe that. But there's no way in hell that you're going to go ahead and build this affordable housing unit on my block,
Right.
not in my backyard. Like you could do it somewhere else,
Mhm.
but never here. Once I start seeing it, that I don't like that. You know, basically, Democrats are being seen as a party that is completely dominated by elites whose privileges do not serve the common good. Just like Claire's saying, this is going against the principles of socialism that people are kind of becoming more aligned to. People are realizing, okay, this party is not supporting the working class whatsoever, but it's also not supporting the people. It's really just supporting the same exact class that the Republicans are supporting. It's
Mhm.
supporting the elite, and it's not that's not helpful to us as a country. That's not going to help our country grow. It's going to really create resentment. Another issue is that you see Democrats who are super conservative in their policies, right? They're progressive in terms of, oh yes, I believe gay people should exist. But when it comes to voting, they want to say, oh well, I don't know about illegal immigration. I don't know about abortion. I don't know. Like it's just certain things. Like yes, you're going to vote on party lines, but there's inconsistencies in terms
Mhm.
of what these Democrats actually want to do once they get into
Exactly.
office.
And that makes them so untrustworthy for the average person.
Exactly. And then also seeing the disalignment to the response to Trump. There's so many Democrats that are just okay, we're going to vote with Trump so that we don't mess up bipartisan progress. And it's funny because the 65% of Democratic voters said that they want congressional Democrats to stick to their positions even if that risks sacrificing bipartisan progress. It's like 32% of them want them to make compromises with Trump. So what we've been seeing is the opposite. We've been seeing basically most Democrats vote in order to keep the progress instead of
Mm.
standing against it.
Yeah.
So what we've seen in the Democratic Party is that because it's now an elite based organization, the focus is less on unionizing or socialist aspects that people support the Democratic Party for, like more money for social welfare, more money for these social programs that we need, more budget for, local communities and things that people consider to be progressive. And instead, they focus more on older white elites that basically are not willing to change. They're really
Yeah.
resistant to systematic change. Like they're willing to say, yes, oh, I'm going to go to Pride. I'm going to take a photo with some queer people and I'm going to
Literally.
go to Target and get this shirt.
Mm.
And when it comes to actually voting to change things, they are continually voting within the neoliberal agenda. And this is basically alienating all of the younger, diverse voters
Yeah.
who are traditionally supposed to support this party. And another issue that we're seeing currently is that the Democratic Party, the Democratic elite, all of these older white people that really are the financial backbone, is this unconditional support of Israel, of the imperialist state of the United States. There's no way that younger voters are going to see that and continue to support it no matter what. This is something that MAGA is struggling with as well. So the fact that Trump has a better marketing relationship and
Mm-hmm.
even a better base of support that's really tethered to, like tightly knit and community based, can't fathom this issue means that Democrats have no chance to weather the storm when it
Right.
comes to all of these things not representing who they're actually supposed to represent, and then continuing to support their imperialist state with taxpayer money as we're watching a genocide happen in real time. So basically now we're seeing all of this is reflected within the public performance. 27% of registered voters had a positive view of the Democratic Party in 2024, according to NBC. And that was the lowest percentage polled since 1990.
Damn.
And it's just declining. The approval ratings for Democrats in Congress are consistently below 50%. And there's a debate, whether Democrats should change their agenda to make it more moderate or improve how they're communicating all of these things that they want to do that are considered to be progressive. Someone was quoted as saying to PBS that they're scared that compromising will lead to the downfall of our democracy, because if you compromise with authoritarianism, then
Mm-hmm.
sweetheart, I have bad news for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to go uphill
No.
from there.
That's literally in the name, authoritarianism. They're gonna have all the authority. Like, that's the goal, mama.
Exactly. Like, stand up, stand up. And it's actually so funny. It's not funny at all, actually, but I remember seeing this video on Twitter of this elected official, and she was holding a town hall meeting, and she was basically saying, "We're afraid too. We're afraid to stand up to Trump." And my first reaction to that is that, she's scared too, and, she's doing her best, basically. And, my immediate reaction is that if you're scared to do your job, resign.
Mm-hmm.
You are elected by the people to represent their voice and their
Exactly.
concerns. So if you're scared to do that, then resign and let
Exactly.
somebody
Because
else
what
who
are
is
you
not
scared
scared
of?
to do that.
Losing your job? Okay, then
Yes.
maybe you don't. Yeah, then maybe you shouldn't have that job.
Exactly, because this job is not for everyone. You're supposed to be an elected leader. So it's insane. They're scared of the death threats. They're scared of the backlash, and it's like, this is just the beginning. And you're scared now. You do not deserve to be in power whatsoever. I don't remember if we spoke about this in the last episode about scapegoats. I think we did, actually, about scapegoating.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, another Democratic issue that happened within this most recent term and has been a continuous problem for Democrats to address is immigration. And cultural backlash. So when you're neglecting the class issues, when you're focused specifically on making sure your financially successful donors are satisfied, then obviously you're out of touch, right, with the reality of the situation. And so after Trump left office, all of the immigrants started coming to the US because they're under the assumption, okay, Trump had strict border policy. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously the next Democratic president is not. So they completely surged to the border and they overwhelmed border control, and the administration basically had crazy delays in action, and all of this just backfired entirely for the image of the Democratic Party and the Democratic administration at that time. So there was also so many progressive groups that were watching and saying, this is what's been happening under Trump, like we need to make sure that this doesn't happen anymore. And there's a lot of details that are emerging from how all of this was handled that definitely included some levels of corruption. Basically, what ended up happening is that all of these immigrants came. The Biden administration did not know how to respond to this, and they did not respond to it whatsoever. So we got to the point where people are having hard times. There's a lot of immigrants coming, there's a lot of immigrants receiving benefits. People are upset because they're like, why am I not receiving any benefits and I am economically stressed? This is not the time for me to be seeing immigrants receiving this and that, and I cannot afford anything. So we get to a point in our society where we have a lot of the immigrants saying that immigrants are what are draining our national resources. It's a huge portion now of Hispanic and Black voters that are agreeing with this. And in California specifically, 63% of Hispanics said they view undocumented immigrants as a burden. So it's really interesting when you see it, because now
Yeah.
you have working class Hispanics that are saying they would favor Trump over Harris on immigration policy. So what happens when you have all of these things? People are not being able to relate to the party that they're supporting, so you're just completely alienating that base. And when you're also looking at Democrats, you're looking at educated professionals, and these working class people feel like you're looking down on me and you're favoring policies that support immigrants and
Mm-hmm.
minorities, but it's not helping me. You're basically giving them an advantage at my expense.
Exactly.
And
Yeah. These people need to eat. Like money is the most important thing at the end of the day. That's why speaking to people's class is infinitely more important. I mean, it's also important to have policies that progress our social structure. That's a piece of the
yeah,
puzzle. But money always needs to come first.
yeah, if you want people to invest, if you want people to boost the economy by spending more, then they need to have money. There needs to be
Mm-hmm.
policies that are big, that people understand, are helpful. There's so much marketing wise and
Yeah.
just socially that the Democratic Party completely failed on, and it's unraveling to the point where I don't think that it could ever be a party that we get a majority of our countries to support again. But who knows at this point? Another thing that I would say was a really huge detriment to the Democratic Party is Trump having amazing marketing and really coming in and focusing on the gender identity issues. Especially so when you have Trump saying, this is what it is to be a man. American men do this, American
Mm-hmm.
men do this. Now, what do American men don't do? They're not trans. That's not American. We have now found an other. We have now found an other
Mm-hmm.
in a situation that we need to target. And so one of the ads that apparently did the best for Trump was a slogan that said, Kamala Harris is for they them. Donald
Mm.
Trump is for you.
Oh my
And
god,
this
I
is
didn't
something that
even know
resonated.
that.
I saw it on my TV and I was just like, this is the most idiotic thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
Wow. That's so
But it's
crazy.
apparently it resonated the most with swing voters. And like we said in another episode, trans people do not make up 1% of our population in this
Mm-hmm.
country.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's just the fact that the Harris administration had no response to this campaign slogan. They had nothing that they could say to say that I support every American. The fact that they see themselves as I'm not queer. The Democratic Party supports queer people. I'm not rich. The Democratic Party supports rich people. I don't. But I believe in conspiracy theories. The Democratic Party believes in well resourced and well thought out, peer reviewed journals and documents.
The
So
Democrats are on JSTOR.
exactly, the
Who even
Democrats are
knows
citing
what
their
that is?
bibliography. They're citing their bibliography right now. And meanwhile, Tucker Carlson's talking about the next conspiracy theory. So using Trump's campaign aligned with all of these male coded symbols that targeted the media, that like the untraditional media, we should say now, because I don't know what they're
Mm-hmm.
calling it, that targeted media icons basically to appeal to these working class men. And so it's like, this is how they really were, like, this is how the strategy was great in my opinion, in terms of figuring out that this is a displaced population that needs the targeting, and using all of these symbols that they knew that would resonate with them to really win them over.
I
Yeah.
I was listening to a podcast a while ago, and I remember them saying that there was like this one specific guy. He might have been a lobbyist. He was a Republican with a lot of money, basically. He literally tested the messaging, the anti-trans messaging, like through Facebook ads, literally like a marketer would. He tested the messaging for a long ass time and was able to see that it garnered
It
people
worked.
to get angry and to sway their voting decision. So that's just crazy. Like this messaging is truly propaganda. It's being tested to influence you. It's not based on anything other than trying to get votes.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, it's seeing what works, and that works, appealing to these Christian values. And like you mentioned before, that what people view as traditional wives, and like, what does it mean when you say, okay, we want to make America great again? We want to go back to this one decade in time.
Swift.
So just like similarly to what we were talking about in the last episode, Trump tapped into the working class not just because of the gender issues, but gender issues did play a good part, because the working class is traditionally more conservative. They're less educated, so they have less exposure to people who are not like them. So they do believe that educational institutions like schools preach a set of values that are too liberal, and they feel like these values are out of the mainstream. And so they also have this notion of parents, not schools, should be teaching kids these liberal values. I mean,
There's
it's
this there's this like conservative influencer that's my friends in Florida know through like her sister or something. This bitch recently bought like a fucking ranch in the middle of Florida, and she's literally calling it a compound. And she had already taken her young kids out of school to homeschool them. But now I guess she's trying to develop this compound for schooling her kids, but also other kids. They're literally like, fuck public education. We're taking this shit in our own hands. Meanwhile, they don't know shit about shit. How are you going to educate? It's just to talk about the Bible and hate speech, and that's their education. So yeah, that's
yeah, usually schools are where kids learn about other kids. They learn
yeah.
about you know,
how
what's
different
going
people
on in
are.
your life. Oh, exactly. Or like, oh wow, I didn't know you were Colombian. I didn't know that you had two dads. I didn't know, like there's so many things that kids learn from being around other kids. So it's
Mhm.
not necessarily the school that's teaching them this. It's literally just being exposed to other kids.
Life. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So it's just really interesting. So they also reject the assertion that slavery and discrimination have made it difficult for Black Americans to work their way out of the lower class. And they believe that Black Americans should be able to make it without having any special favors.
Did you see that
And they
TikTok
say
I
that,
sent you?
mm,
Sorry.
which one?
It was like a since Trump took over PBS, there's a new segment or something that's animated with Christopher Columbus being like,
Oh,
yeah, basically being
denied
like,
slavery.
black people liked being slaves, kids.
I cannot. I really cannot. Yeah. I
Yeah.
did see that. And so yeah, that's it's so funny because in Florida, that's what the books are changing to. It's
Mm-hmm.
like slavery wasn't that bad. Like the white people weren't that mean to them. And so yes, they're also saying that Black people should be able to, work their way up, basically pull themselves up by the bootstraps, like other minority groups have done. So they're saying like there's other groups within the U.S. that have are discriminated against because they are minorities. And so one thing that I always have to say to that is that the United States was built off of slaves, and the people who inherited the wealth or who earned the wealth still have that wealth. The land that was passed on to through generations are from plantation money. Is from the wealth from slavery. So Black people have never had that because they were slaves, and then they were not slaves, and they were never given land, money, or any resources to
No
any reparations for that.
reparations.
So and there's never been any acknowledgement of slavery and the economic toll or the mental social tolls that it's had on Black people. So there's never been any form of reparations whatsoever, which is very different from any modern day country. Usually
Mm,
there's kind of some sort of rebalancing done, so that's never been done.
yeah.
And also there's so many things that have happened post slavery that has led this country to this current trajectory, which I won't currently go into because we'll probably talk about it on another episode. But yes, this is how the working class American feels, whether it's a white working class American or a
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic working class American. There's a lot of people within a certain class that share these sentiments, that share these feelings about our society. And so Trump tapped into those sentiments, and the Democratic Party had no answer for these things. There is no response. So that's what people remember. People remember who responded and who did they resonate with in a specific instance. So another thing that working class voters really support despite race is patriotism. They value being a patriot. They value religious tradition and they value family, even if their lives don't reflect conventional stability. And unlike educated people or educated elites, working class families usually live paycheck to paycheck and they don't have, that much money to meet emergencies. They don't have time, they don't have the luxury to wait for policies to give the results that are promised a decade later. They're looking for immediate solutions. They're looking for tangible remedies. So, one thing that we can remember, a lot of people voted for Trump, especially a lot of Black people voted for Trump specifically because of the rebate during COVID. And what I find the most ironic about that is that Trump was so against giving this money out. They literally had to
Mm-hmm.
force they had to force the money to go out, the $1,200 check. And one thing that Trump did that was smart, and I thought this was the dumbest thing at the time because I'm like, You didn't want this to happen. It happened, and you're going to spend extra money to send a letter and sign your name on it and say, I sent you this money.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that.
And guess what? People didn't forget
It's
because
marketing.
that was a rapid and tangible remedy to the problem that they had. And so that what they said after this is that, wow, Trump is an action based president. We didn't have money. He gave us money. He will help us. So these working class folks are usually scared and they don't like government intervention. They believe in relying on yourself and it's on us, and we don't really want the government's help. We don't want these social benefits. We're going to do it on our own. And they also feel like the government favors minorities and immigrants over them. They're like, okay, universities teach all these liberal values. They teach about all of these things that hate white people and are just critical of us, of the American society, and they don't help us in any way. So they're saying, okay, these universities are liberal. They have liberal values. Have heard so many people say that, and it was like that really blew my mind because I'm like, a university is liberal, like you're just going to get an education, but the fact that even the act of you getting an education is a liberal act within itself because 38% of people over 25 have a bachelor's degree in this country. So it is seen as a luxury. We don't have money or time for you to go to college. You need to go get a job right now to support the family. So most of the people don't go to college, so they do not support student loan relief. 74% of people who responded to a Pew Research poll on this topic said they favored public investments in apprenticeships and technical skills. So these are people who were basically like, we're going to go to trade school for something quick.
Mm-hmm.
We need
The
apprenticeships. We need
vocations.
things that can help us get into higher paying industries that are blue collar jobs. And they also don't believe in the government in terms of propelling economic progress. They don't want the government telling them what to do, and they don't want the government telling them how to live their lives. So what's happening with the Democrats is that the basis of support is gone. People don't see the Democrats as legitimate, and they just continually see it as an elitist white party that is completely detached from the economic and cultural
Mm-hmm.
realities that we live in on a day-to-day basis. And then there's no show of patriotism. When you allow the opposite party to co-opt the American flag
Yeah.
and use that as a symbol of patriotism, and you have no answer to that, you have no American flags at your
Yeah.
event. You're not doing anything to say this is what makes Democrats American. The patriotism, the religion, and the family. There was no addressing that with the Democratic Party. And so those are the main reasons why they were not able to get to where they were going.
Yeah. I'll even
Yeah.
say, like, for me, when I see someone wearing an American flag shirt, I'm automatically like, are you racist? And it shouldn't be that way. It's like, it's our flag. You should be able to have a normal amount of national pride. Like, we don't need to go all nationalism, but yeah, you should be proud of your country, proud of your flag. So the fact that we have that reaction as more liberal people says a lot.
Yes, Democrats are known now for being better politicians than people. You have the Clintons, they're known for being politicians, but as people, questionable. The the only route forward really for the Democrats is similar to what you said. They're going to have to focus on having a cross class alliance. So literally focusing on
Mm-hmm.
the class issue. The values need to be more progressive in terms of the social aspect, but they also need to figure out how are they going to mend the gap with non-college voters without sacrificing their core values.
Yeah.
So it's like someone said from the Atlantic, the Democratic Party is not in need of a rebrand, it needs to be rebooted. We're moving to a point where we're zooming past the rest of our country, and we're realizing that half of our country is left behind. Like half of our country believes in very conservative traditional values, and half of our country believes in way more progressive and more liberal policy. So it's like, is there going to be a way that we can meet in the middle? Is there going to be a
Mm-hmm.
way that we can focus on the things that we both care about, and the end goal being a a party that cares about the people. But really, my opinion is that, well, it will be hard for the Democratic Party to really wiggle
Yeah.
out of this hole. From what I see, there's not really a leader that the establishment stands behind, and there's not really anyone making noise that's going against what Trump is doing. So there is a really huge issue, especially when you have all of these billionaires that are so used to influencing politics trying to figure out where they're going to put their money. This is just such an uncertain time. So um, there needs a lot needs to be done. We're losing sight of what makes us American. We're losing sight of what unites the country. And right now we're so polarized. We've come to the point where we can only see what makes us different,
Mm,
all the distinctions that we have. And I think the issue with the Democrats is there's no liberal way of being patriotic, and where we complain so much about everything. We're so first world problems. Oh my god, I hate how we do this here. Like, I hate this, I hate this, I hate that. So we're never actually saying these are the things that make me love my country. It gets to the point where other people who are citizens of this country and are patriotic and do love this country find it distasteful for us to constantly be complaining about, oh my god, it sucks here, like we have no transit. And it's like, I that's me, like we have no transit,
I
but
know.
we're like, what the hell? But we're also not saying what we love about the country. It's totally fine to be critical and to say like there's things that absolutely need to change and this is what needs to be better. But it's also not great when you're just putting a critical lens on all the time and you're not saying this is what makes me love being home. We're also coming to this point where we are just pushing all of the ideas that we've learned down people's throats, and it's alienating some of our society. It's like we're saying, okay, if you don't like what I have to say, then fuck you. It's like, how many times can we just say fuck you to people who we have to share our society with, that we have to live with?
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think what's happening is that there's there's an enlightenment. There's been an enlightenment in the educated population in the United States. And because of that enlightenment, people are so ready to just push forward. But we're pushing forward past the limit of our country. And so when we get to this point where we're just like, okay, fuck you, like it's my prerogative, like it's my time to be free. And it's like, yes, feel the liberation that you feel, but also remember that we have to coexist. You don't want people to offend you, and you shouldn't be offensive to others. We have to be considerate to one another. And I think this is a reflection of the American individualistic way of viewing things, right? It's an Americanism. Like, it's me, fuck you. It's not about you, it's about me. And it's like, it's actually about us,
Yeah.
because we all still have to live here. We all still have to make it work. Like,
I'm not gonna lie, I'm really bad about that. Like I was saying, the anecdote that I started with, like the people I had to be around who were very different from me. The first reaction is anger. I'm just like, what? Like, why the fuck would you say that? Why would you think that? What is wrong with you? And then it makes me be like, I don't want to be around you. What the fuck? And I definitely think that that reaction is normal, but I personally am truly trying to figure out how to get around that and what it can look like. Because
yeah,
how do we relate? I mean, we're both doing it. Both sides are doing it because on their side, it obviously is so individualistic too. It's like, well,
yeah,
Christian values matter the most. And not everyone's a Christian. That doesn't make any sense. So,
yeah,
and it's butting heads over the same things over and over again. So, someone tell
yeah. I
tell
just
us what to do.
I think it's like, I think it's gotten to the point where I think we all need to judge less. Like, I think we're at the
Yeah.
point where we're
Oh, for
all
sure.
judging each other. You're so dumb. You're uneducated. Or you don't know
Yep.
this and you don't know that, and it's so personal. But at the end of the day, I think it's just the mindset of leaving people behind. If half of our population are supporting a evil cause, what are we gonna do? That's half of our country. So what are
Yeah.
we gonna do? How are we going to
We
evolve?
can't be like, fuck you. That's
Exactly.
not working at
It's
all.
not,
Yeah.
exactly, it's not working. And us saying fuck you, I'm going to continue to push forward, is how you get the gap that leads to fascism. Because when you
Yep.
when you leave people behind, somebody's going to find
Mhm.
them and somebody's going to prey on them and someone's
Mhm.
going to take advantage of them. And then you're going to have a situation similar to what we have. So we had to figure out what is the way for us to all come together and say, all right, yeah, look, you did what you did, you talk about what you talk about, but at the end of the day, how do we make grocery prices cheaper? How do we make sure that I could afford daycare or be able to buy a house? Like those are the things that we all care about.
Talking about money in class, that is definitely the way. Because
Yes,
then, if we somehow manage to get a third party who can do that and speak to that and actually enact the policies too, that's where everything can come secondary. Because then, if education becomes more accessible, then it's like, okay, everyone's in school together. They have that opportunity, like you were talking about, to be around other people. They're less susceptible to bullshit like transphobia. Then it's more normal and less fear based to have
yes,
everyone on the same page with social equality. So, yeah, it all has to
yes.
start with money.
It all has to start with money. It all has to start with money put into social infrastructure and the money put into education. If people feel like, oh, my child is going to a good school, they're like not going to care that there's a gay parent in
Yeah.
there. Like they're not going to care about that because they're going to be like, wow, my child's getting a good education. But the fact that people feel like they're being attacked on every single
Mm-hmm.
realm. They feel like, oh, this I cannot relate to any of this. This goes against all of my moral
Yeah.
values that are based off of religion. That's what people are telling them. They're telling them, oh, they're targeting your kid's mind. Seeing any gay people is going to negatively affect you. And if you don't have a response to that and you just say fuck you, you're ignorant, you're homophobic, then they're going to say f you too.
Yep.
And we're just never going to push
We're
forward.
never going to get past that
um,
fuck you.
Exactly. And then
It's
another
just going to
thing
be
that
fuck you back and forth.
exactly, it's two angry people just screaming fuck you at each other. And it's like we've been doing that for a very long time. But yeah, I think some things that I just with the Democratic Party that just piss me off personally is just how performative it can be. And this is an aspect of
Mm-hmm.
neoliberalism in
Yeah.
itself. It's like like, okay, we need to implement this. So we need to show you how inclusive we are. We need to show you how much we care about your organization. This is a photo op time for the Democratic person who, like, for example, like Joe Biden, who didn't even support gay marriage, being like, I support trans people. Like, okay, we believe that you as a grandpa support trans people. Like, please, you probably just learned about it for like, I don't know, 2 years ago.
Literally.
And it's so funny because I have to find a picture of Nancy Pelosi in 2020 where she put on this whole like
Oh,
traditional
the African.
African
Yeah.
outfit for
Yeah.
because they're going to pass a
That
DNI
was.
law. That picture to me is the picture of the Democratic Party. It is literally
Yeah, it
the
is.
old white elite trying to play in your fucking face
Mm-hmm. And
and
that's what makes
say,
it
"I don't
so
care about
easy
you."
then for the right to be like, DEI? You guys don't even need DEI. What is it? You guys just dressed up in costumes for a day and had a photo shoot. It's like,
And
if the
but
left
this is the
isn't even
thing.
taking it seriously, the right isn't either.
And this is the thing for DNI honestly pisses me off as a concept, not because of what it stands for, but because all these companies implemented DNI
Mm,
as a show, as a performance, as
marketing.
a way to say we're going to avoid the backlash. We're going to build a DNI part of our company. And literally the DNI people are like, this is what you need to do in order to make black people and minorities feel more comfortable with your brand. And they're like, why would we do that? Like that's not happening. That's not what we're not doing all of that. So as black people working in DNI, we're starting to get burnt out to the point where they're like, I
Oh, yeah.
never want to work in anything DNI related in my life.
It's futile
So
work.
yeah, because you don't want to change the systematic ways of your company. They're never gonna change. Okay. Just stop calling this some bullshit. But yeah, another thing is I think we've been treating this country as the first world. We were like, one of the richest countries. This is a first world country, and we have money as a country. Our citizens are living in a third world country, very much more aligned with the third world country than the first world. Our population is very uneducated. We have horrible hygiene. We have horrible healthcare. And the levels of corruption within our government are high and concealed to the point where people do not trust our government. And this is very much reminiscent of the third world, not the first world. Baby, we're so close to the third world. It's like we are here. Okay, the mask is
The
getting unpeeled.
line dividing it is literally just the propaganda that we've been fed, that we're the best and that they're stupid.
Exactly.
That's the line.
Exactly. And that's where your point comes across. Like the neoliberal institutions, the corporations are
Mhm.
rich. The corporations have money. The people who own those corporations and benefit from those corporations
Mhm.
have money. And then the rest of the working class
Does not.
is living in another reality. So, yes, I think as Democrats, as leftists, as people who are progressives, we need to move past the perspective of being 100% critical. I think we need to move
Yeah.
past that and say, okay, yes, we're going to be critical, but we also need to think about how can we empower ourselves? How can we step out of the stage of being victimized by white people or white men while still acknowledging what's happened in the past and being critical, but also thinking about things that could make us consider have more equality, more things that we could all support together, right? So more things that everyone on the entire totem pole, could say, okay, I feel like this is something that is beneficial to not just you, but to me, right? So I think we need to do things like making reparations more palatable. Like, how do we find ways to think about cultural issues and repair race relations in this country? We need to recognize the roles that slavery played in our economy and our country, and how certain communities that were negatively affected by slavery, how do they come back from this? Just like Germany did with Nazism, they really went through the entire society and said, how do we pay reparations? How do we make sure this never happens again in our country?
Mhm.
In our country.
Yeah.
Um, so I think what's next, not for the Democratic Party, but for the country and parties that will come to exist, is focusing on aspects of unity, like the diversity of our cuisines, our houses, like American drive-throughs, road trips, American landscape, the things that really make people say like, oh my gosh, this is why I want to come to the United States. Like our Hollywood, New York City, LA, like our big cities, the things that people want, to enjoy, that are American, focusing on those things and feeling pride and patriotism in that.
Period. We need better marketing. Yeah, we need better marketing on the left.
Yeah,
We need socialism.
real bad. I was like having a discussion with somebody on Twitter, and they were like a pure like capitalist, and he was saying how climate change was basically an effect of people and not corporations. And I'm like, he's like, yeah, but people
Baby,
throwing
who runs the corporations? What?
I'm like,
What
he's
kind
like,
of
people
argument
throwing
is
away
that?
plastic on the street, like littering is disgusting, and like that's an action of people. And I'm like, who created plastic?
Yeah.
Who's
Oh my
who
god.
created plastic and continues to produce plastic because it's far cheaper than any other alternative?
That's such an easy argument. Damn.
Yeah, and his sentiment was like, well, the way that it's supposed to work is that profits are everything. Like you need to be considering your profits. And I'm like, but we're at the point where profits matter more than human beings. Like
Mhm.
your end of day profit matters that more than people being able to live. There's no benefit if the corporations are making the most money and people cannot afford to live
Exactly.
like that.
It's just, if you
We
really zoom out too, it's like if you keep prioritizing profit, at the end of the day, what people are going to be left? You're not even going to be able to
What
join
people are
that,
gonna
enjoy
work,
that profit. Exactly.
but it is
It's
like
just
what people are
even
even gonna
from an
work for the
investment standpoint, it's like the
exactly.
math doesn't math. So,
No. So you want a corporation to make the most amount of profit that doesn't pay people enough to afford the cost of living. So why would people want to work for your corporation? The response is, well, if you don't like what you're being paid, then you should find a different field.
find another job. Yeah.
But you're still avoiding the fact that you're not paying people the cost of living.
Mhm.
And you're paying CEOs
Literally
just like every
700
single year.
times what you're
Exactly.
paying the workers. Yeah.
And every year the percentage of CEO pay just gets substantially higher and higher.
Mm.
And it's like even 20 years ago that was nowhere near the case.
Yeah.
So it's like a complete
The
reshuffling.
list of justifications is running out. Like, I
Yeah.
just
It's
don't
like
understand how
it
people
doesn't
can
trickle
justify
down.
it. It does not, though. It does not trickle down. It trickles up your ass. I don't
Seriously.
even know what that means.